Hello, everybody, and welcome to another adventure in history. I hope you are all doing well. I'm doing okay. It's been a weird day, but not a bad day. And, yeah, it's also been kind of a weird week already. It's only Tuesday, but there's just, I don't know, man, it's a lot of weird stuff going on. Car trouble, students not necessarily being as aware as they needed to be. The world is weird. I don't know. It's all around weird. But, Hey, Vipers, good to see you. Don't you hello everybody me. Who the heck do you think you are? Hey, Cave. How's it going, man? Yeah. So, here we are. This is Adventures in History. My name is Shane. We're going to talk history. We're also probably going to make a lot of bad jokes and poke fun at the past because, they're all dead now, so they don't necessarily mind. A weird day. How odd. But how are you doing? I don't know. How are you doing? Hey, Vagich. Good to see you. Can't wait to hear all about the Witchers. Yeah, so there are these herbs that you take, and it turns you into a mutant. And then you can move faster and shoot fireballs out of your hands. And you aren't supposed to have emotions, but they clearly do have emotions. So, and of course, then you're a social outcast and a pariah because you stop aging. And yeah, well, you don't stop aging completely. You just age really, really slow. And everybody that you love dies. But, this is the life of a monster slayer. And it's probably better than the life that you may have had as an orphan, or, emotions like the Vulcans. Perhaps. Vulcans don't hunt down monsters, though. They just try to outlogic them. Yeah. Vipers, I saw that you posted a paper in the Discord, and I'm really interested about that. I've actually been to Tel Hammam before, and some of the stuff that I've shown here on stream comes from Tel El Hammam. So I'm interested to see what they say about it. I'm a little bit skeptical, just sort of off the top, because the proposed theory of some sort of atmospheric explosion event is pretty weird and pretty rare. So I don't know what I'm going to think about that, but I'm interested to give it an eyeball. Unfortunately, I saw it about 5 minutes before I needed to start getting ready for stream, and I was not able to give it enough attention that I needed to. So, looking forward to reading that probably tomorrow. But yeah, Tel El Hammam's a pretty cool place. Well, so the idea, and this has actually been something, for those of you that are not familiar, we do have a Discord, and we have a section where we post things that have popped up in the news about history. And there have been people for a long time, well, I say a long time, probably about 15 or so years, that have been trying to explain what's going on at Tel Hammam. And one of the theories is coming from this particular group of archaeologists that are biblical literalists. They are effectively doing archaeology with the intent of trying to prove that the stories in the both the Jewish scripture and the Christian scripture are factually and historically accurate. And the working theory from their point of view is that Tel El Hammam represents the ancient city of Sodom, which was recorded in the book of Genesis as being destroyed by fire and brimstone from the sky. So that's an interesting idea. I admitted when I first heard that theory that it would be very difficult for them to prove that. And if that does end up being sort of the case, that's going to be an interesting debate. I suspect that Tel El Hammam will be fairly widely debated amongst certain scholars. And I've got an archaeological buddy of mine that's been to Tel El Hammam during some of the active dig stuff and has a pretty good grasp on the scholarship of the location. So I'm interested to see his response to that as well. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, it looked like they did some good diligence. So Figment, it's in the Discord under History in the News, and it's about Tel El Hammam, and we went there. It's where the weird guy was trying to offer everybody tea in Jordan. It's where. Oh man, there's a great Adventure Hat story about that. I'm not supposed to share Adventure Hat stories for free though. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, I have a lot to catch up on too. That today has just been just bonkers. I've been sort of slammed from the beginning of the day till the afternoon. It's really, really busy today. Lots and lots and lots and lots of emails. And I had to sort of put my foot down on a few of them, which, I don't know. There comes a point where students have to be responsible for themselves. I don't know. I just don't like being jerky. Hey, JMR, good to see you. Vipers is like, well. All right, so I'll tell the Tel El Hammam story. Order 66. All right, so this is the Adventure Hat. I did not actually have the Adventure Hat when I was in Jordan. I was wearing a ball cap at that point. And that ball cap used to be, well, I've showed it on stream here before. It's sort of like an Adventure Hat Mark 1. Or Mark 0 maybe. So yeah, we had a group of students. It was a colleague and I were sort of, well, I was basically a glorified chaperone on the trip. I was the other driver in the party, and we were at Tel El Hammam. Oh man, I wonder if I have these photos on my hard drive. Mark something really. Let me see if I have these pictures. I don't actually. I need to put all of my photos. Oh wait. Maybe they're in the other hard drive. Where would that be? Aha! I'm currently opening up photos from Tel El Hammam. I might be able to show these to you. I don't want to share anything that shows anybody else's face. Okay, well, I tell you what I can do now that I've figured out how to draw on this. I can draw a circle over this student's face and share this image with you. Check it out. Okay, so this is at this is me at Tel El Hammam, and there are two parts to the city. There's a sort of an upper part, which is where sort of the big buildings are. There's a Middle Bronze Age palace on top of the hill, and then there's a lower part of the city, which is down around where I'm standing right here, but this particular area was the back gate of the city. So, in a bit of a okay, so heads up, if your children are watching, this is a little bit not safe for work. So fair warning to anybody with kids watching. But again, there's a theory that this particular location is analogous to the biblical city of Sodom. So this was, again, this is a joke, but this is me entering the city of Sodom through the back gate. Which is, of course, a really horrible pun, but I had to have a photo of it. So, there we go. I see what you did there. Yeah, so there's a fun little anecdote for you. I hope that was worth the points. It's actually a really cool spot. And I actually remember Figment commenting on how horrible of a person I was for asking my colleague to take that photo of me. Anyway, so there we go. All right, so yeah, let's talk Poland. We're like 15 minutes in, and I haven't even mentioned Poland. So yeah, this is a viewer request stream. On Tuesdays we do viewer request streams, and today is a viewer request on medieval Poland. And this is something that was asked for. It's actually been asked for a couple of times, so it sort of worked its way through the polls. Worked its way through the polls. Da 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 da. So yeah, that was an unintentional pun, but I'll take it because, you know, it's worth it. So the interest here is sort of broad. The topic is not necessarily an easy one to just approach without any sort of guiding theme. So as always, when we do a viewer request that ends up being sort of an overlay or some sort of overview, this is going to be a bit kind of hitting the high points. There is a lot of material in this particular area. There's actually quite a bit of really good archaeology that's been done in Poland. There's a lot of fairly decent written primary source work that's come out of Poland. And there's a lot of history that's in Poland. And I think this is one of the areas that gets looked over a lot, especially because you don't necessarily hear too much about the Polish Empire, but there very much was one for a little while. You don't hear a lot about the power of Poland in international dealings, but it very much was there. Usually when you hear about Poland, all you hear about is Poland being either created at the end of World War I or invaded at the beginning of World War II. And then you might get some more about some stuff in the Holocaust. But most people don't necessarily get a lot of good treatment of Polish history in their classes at school or anything like that. So I've decided that in the process of doing this particular stream that I did need to back up at least a little bit. I didn't want to just start talking about the foundation of what was the Polish kingdom. I did feel like I needed to do some diligence on who these people are, where they come from, their heritage and things like that. So we've got a little bit of a primer on sort of who are the Polish people. And the easiest thing that I can say is the Polish people have been in this area for a really, really long time. Quick question. You've heard of Poland. You've heard of La La Land. But where was Tinky Winky and Dipsyland? Okay, so we've got the Teletubbies covered now. I don't know where Tinky Winky Land or Dipsyland is. Dipsyland might be Where are people dippy? I don't know. I don't want to necessarily cast an aspersion on an entire region and call them all dippy, but oh no. So I'm not annoyed at all. It's been a really long day, and I actually straight fell asleep on the couch today, sitting straight up watching the television. So yeah, we're going to talk about Jadwiga at the very end. I am not annoyed at all. I appreciate that. I'm super tired and I need some coffee. And unfortunately, I have also run into a situation where I don't have enough groceries to get coffee going. I needed to go to the grocery store today and I didn't because of other things that came up. So no, I wasn't watching the Teletubbies. I can't say that I've even watched an entire episode of the Teletubbies. I know about them because they were sort of a cultural meme for a little while, but I don't know a lot of specifics. All right, so of course, if we show the modern borders, this is the modern day country of Poland here, and it is a substantially decent sized country in Eastern Europe. However, in the ancient world, it was not quite as large as it is today. It does not have the same sort of border shape. It's more or less in the same region, but if we were sort of to draw a circle more or less right around here, that would sort of be more like the ancient Poland. So this region right here, though, especially this southern region, the sort of this river valley here and the cleft of all of these mountains. So these are the Carpathians and these are the Alps here. Sort of this region right around in here, these fertile river valleys. These are actually going to be sites where humans have lived, like I said, for thousands and thousands of years. For as long as humans have been in Europe, humans have been in that region. It's very fertile. It's got a lot of flora and fauna, so it's sort of a bounteous region. There are people that have done archaeological work there, dating people and human remains, back tens of thousands of years. There were Neanderthals in this region as well, so not even just the sort of Homo sapiens that we are, but even some of our cousins and progenitors. Homo heidelbergensis may have been up that way. So there's been a lot of people living in Poland for a really, really long time. Here's something that'll make you feel old. The son baby from Teletubbies is 22 now. Yeah, that makes me feel horrible. I'm already starting to feel old. Like my birthday's coming up, so I always start to feel a little bit older around my birthday. Last year, I don't even remember what happened on my birthday because last year is sort of just a blur. But I feel like I'm getting double order worth of birthday coming up. Like it's just going to hit me twice as hard this time around. Age is a number. Right, but I'm also going to lose a joke that I have enjoyed for an entire year. When people bring up how old we're getting, I get to go, I'm not old, I'm 37! Which, of course, is from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So I'm not going to get to use that I have used the devil out of that joke this year. And I'm sort of sad to see it go. Not for long. Thanks, KP. Who's older than I am. A number of years that my bones have been deteriorating. Pretty much. Yeah, I'm 37. Can confirm he's run it into the ground. Hey, Sophie. We've got lots of folks in here that are doing the stream stuff, so let's do the shoutouts. We've got I Am Batbird hanging out in the streamers world. Go check out Batbird. I just found out on, I guess that was Sunday. Was it Sunday or Saturday that I was in Batbird's channel? Not just digital art, but also traditional art. I was doing some traditional art with the old alcohol-based acrylic marker kind of things. So, 42. Oh, so when you get to 42, you get the joke that you are the answer to life, the universe, and everything, right? So, that's worth sharing.
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus! Batbird. That's very, very kind of you. And Boba Bomber, welcome. And you're now Spartacus. So I'm Spartacus. Sophie. So we're getting around. Let's do David. If you don't know David, you should totally go follow David. David's a cool dude. He does traditional art and sometimes do digital coloring stuff, and is working on, yesterday was working on a cover for the Usagi Yojimbo comics. Pretty cool stuff. And we've got Sophie hanging out in chat, who is a fellow history streamer. Also plays games that are history related. I was hanging out the other day in Sophie's stream, making a character. Sophie was making a character in a game, and discussing what nose to pick for her character, and then got stumped because, the game asks you for a name and all that stuff. But anyway, go check out Sophie. I found... I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! Spartacus!
I am Spartacus. For my next birthday, you get to use that cool symbol that protested our last president, because I'm not a fan of being 45 either. Alas. Alas. Oh, cool. I'm glad it got approved. Congratulations, David. Badbird, thank you so much for the sub. Yeah, so Sophie does history stuff as well. And I have to say, Sophie's channel is, according to the description, the number one history stream on Twitch. And I am, of course, very, very biased, and I don't necessarily believe that that's the case. I think that we're clearly the best. But, it's okay. We can agree to disagree. Scholars and people that are learned can entertain opposing viewpoints and still be friends, right? It's like a coffee shop. We can have the best coffee in the world. Oh, there we are, right? Right. It's moderately objective. Moderately objective. Okay, so we're talking about Poland. Who are these people? Again, there have been people in Poland for as long as human beings have lived in Europe. And the interesting thing about this region also, if you were hanging around way, way back at the beginning of Adventures in History, and you were with us for one of our very first viewer request streams where we did the history of Celtic mythology, you'll know that the Celtic people that we sort of associate with places like Scotland and Wales and Ireland actually originated right around this region here. And of course, they begin to spread. This is back in the 500s or so BCE, way back then, and then sort of move all the way across Europe. They get as far down here as Greece, all the way over here into places like Spain. These are the Celtiberians. And then, of course, up here into what our modern culture sort of assumes immediately is Celtic when we say the word Celtic, right? If you disagree with me on any point or minutia, you just hate you forever. Oh, I forgot JMR. Sorry, man. If you like hanging out with cool people and watching people build models or play some games, go follow JMR. He's a cool dude. Just got through building his first Gundam on stream. Looks pretty nice. Also plays a variety of games, not just one game. Was playing some Star Wars stuff last week. Playing some Breath of the Wild. Good stuff, good stuff. So, there we are. Shane is 100% smart. Oh, no. No, let's not go there. I'm just a dude. I'm just a guy. This is just sort of my thing, right? I'm just a giant nerd. All right. But the region of Poland is not just the Celts, and it's not just the original human beings there. This zone, if we sort of draw a box, basically right around here, that goes from the Baltic here down to the Balkans, and then across to the Black Sea, and then up back. So sort of this rectangular region right here. That area is effectively the superhighway of human migration into Europe. Anybody that comes into Europe in really big numbers from Asia is almost certainly going to come through there. So if you look back at basically any of the big people movements that you might have heard of in relationship to things like the Empire of Rome, so the Goths, those Germanic Goth people that came from the borders of the Black Sea over here, Well, they came to Europe through Poland. So you're going to have a little bit of Gothic influence and ethnic application to some of this stuff. You're going to have the Baltics people, or they're actually called the Balts, just B-A-L-T-S, the Balts, who are native to this region up here. Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, those regions. They're going to move down into this region and move through Poland. The Huns, right? The good old-fashioned Attilas, right? So not the Bauhaus Goths. No. Not like the I wear solid black and I have lots of facial piercings and stuff Goths. These are like the Theodoric the Goths, or the people that sacked Rome. The people that ended up basically claiming all of this territory down here and became the Goths. And this is the Ostrogoths, by the way. The Visigoths are a later movement that also come through this area. That's a little bit later on, though, and the Visigoths end up settling over here in Spain. And they stay in Spain until the Muslim invasions, and then they get pushed out by the... I'm losing my terms here. After the Rashidun Caliphate. It's got the Umayyads. Gosh, why can't I say Umayyads? My bad. Sorry. How about just a really, really badly drawn... I'm missing the joke here. A box or a cube, a circle. Did I say a circle and then I draw a square? Who knows? I don't know what I'm doing. It's too sunny for the Bauhaus Goths in that area. Right, there's a lot of good weather up here. Anyway, there are lots of people moving through. So the Huns are there. There's also another group that shows up later on in the 500s, from about the 500s to the 700s, called the Avars. The Avars are sort of steppe people. They are referred to as the Avar Khanate, but they're not Turkish, and they're also not Mongols. So if you've ever heard of like the Genghis Khans of the world, Khan, of course, is just a title for a ruler, but the Avar Khanate is actually going to take over a pretty big chunk of Eastern Europe over here, and they're actually going to live in Poland for quite some time. And then there's another group that shows up in the early 600s called the Bulgars that move through Poland and hang out there for quite some time before deciding to move down into the Balkan Peninsula and give a lot of trouble to the people of the Byzantine Empire. One of the coolest nicknames of any ruler ever is this Byzantine Empire named Basil Bulgarantis, which is Basil the Bulgar Slayer. That's a pretty honkin' cool nickname, right? So this region has seen a lot of people move through. But who are the native folk? Who are the people that were sort of there? And what do they experience when all of these people are running through? Well, those people are who we call the Western Slavs. Poor Poland, it's like the Israel of Europe. All roads lead through there. It really is. It's very similar. So what Cave is referring to is the fact that the modern day country of Israel was another one of these sort of ancient superhighways. If you were trying to trade from Europe or Asia, I need to zoom out a little bit. So Europe or Asia or Africa, you basically had to walk down the coastal road right here, which runs right through the modern day state of Israel. So there's a lot of people that want to hold that area, and a lot of people fight over that area. So Poland's the same sort of way. It is the kind of the viaduct of travel. And it should really be no surprise that some of the first actual cities in this area are sort of big trade hubs. There's the crossroads where the trade routes lap over. So it's pretty important stuff. But if we're talking about the Western Slavs, let me show you this. Here we go. Boom. Western Slavs. This is in the 9th to 10th century. So this is 800s and 900s. And we can see sort of a larger Slavic territory here that's sort of in the dark green line. But you can see that there are smaller tribes of
Western Slavic people: the Veleti, the Czech, the Moravians, the Vistulans, and here are the Polans. And these are the people that are going to go on to become the sort of the center of the later Kingdom of Poland. And this particular city right here, which is Gniezno, is going to be really, really important. Now, this city right here, which is Rockwall, this goes on to be Warsaw. The modern day city of Warsaw is basically Rockwall. And I know the little L with the squiggle across it, you pronounce it like a breathy W, like you've got a mouthful of marbles and you're saying a W sound. So this is Rockwall, and it's not an L. So you might see some people pronouncing this kind of anglicized as Wroclaw, but that's not how the Polish people would pronounce it. It took me a long time to look up how to pronounce all of these cities and people and stuff. So there we go. Yes, the Pomeranians. The north is populated entirely by small dogs that are very, very cute. And despite the fact that they are cute, you can't necessarily trust them because they will also bite the devil out of you. So they nibble your shins. They just come after you like a pack of the cutest things ever, and you don't suspect them, and then you die. It's just what happens. It's just what happens. Black fingernails. I'm missing stuff in the chat. Is drink that makes sense? Yes. To be fair, no Western European language can pronounce Eastern European words correctly. Yeah, so there we go. So yeah, your Pomeranian with a Celtic name is actually kind of accurate. Now, if we go back to our map of Western Slavs, the region that would have been sort of the heartland of the ancient Celts back in the 500s or the 6th century, so BC, is sort of this region right down in here. Along the border here with what is the modern day state of Slovenia and Hungary. So this region down here, it's not necessarily by Pomerania, but I mean it's close enough that I'll give you partial credit. How about that? So they are a group of people that are Western Slavs, but linguistically, and again, when we talk about ethnic groups and we talk about the history of peoples, one of the things that's really, really important for us to ask is what language do they speak? Because linguistics are going to be one of the key things that tie us to identity and culture. And you can see this today. If you go talk to somebody that is from a different part of the world than you can immediately tell that they're not necessarily your people. Even if they speak English, right? They have a different accent. They say words differently. In the southern part of the United States where I'm from, we tend to use the phrase Coke to mean basically any carbonated beverage. But you go up into the Northeast and they say soda, and you go to the Midwest and they say pop. So it all means the same thing, but you can tell by our language that we're different people. So if we are talking about their linguistic group, they are what are referred to as Lekites. And this is a Lekitic linguistic group, and these are sort of the predecessors of the modern Polish language. Like English traditional in the UK or English simple. Oh, vipers. I will accept that. We do not have the high received pronunciation, and we also recognize that boots are things for your feet, not for your car. But we still love everybody, right? We know that a bonnet is something that a young lady wears on her head, not the thing that you open up to put all of your stuff in and fix your motor and such. The fall because leaves fall down. There we go. There we go, right? We don't say autumn. Anyway, so linguistically, these people are Lekites, and you sometimes see them referred to as ethnically Lekite, and this is going to sort of separate them from other groups, especially our Czechish people and people that might go on to be part of other sort of Western Slavic kingdoms. Not everybody here has a posh accent or vocabulary, and they do, so where's the lie? I don't understand, Figment. You all are having some sort of... I don't understand what's going on here. Everybody is just adding each other in chat, and I have been lost. Gives a new meaning to Snow White Eat Your Heart Out. I am so lost at what's happening in my own chat right now. I feel a little bit disaggregated from my own data. Alas, I'm just going to push on. We'll just keep going, and I'll stumble around and we'll pick it up as we go. So yeah, organizationally, if we're looking at this group of people, these Lekites, these Western Slavs at this period of time, the 9th and 10th century, they are not really living in what we would call states. What they're living in are sort of big fortified villages that have wooden palisades around them. By the time we get up into the 900s or the 10th century, they're going to start actually giving way to cities. Cities and villages are different. You have the difference between, an unplanned organization of structures and a planned regional layout of structures. So your cities and your villages are different. You can tell that they're different. When you build a city, you have roads, and you have residential areas, and you have religious areas, and you have business areas, and we all sort of recognize this stuff. A village is just like, hey, we've got stuff, and it's just kind of everywhere, right? So they're going to be building cities, and these cities are going to start growing mostly because of the trade. Again, there's a lot of people moving through this area, and you can start seeing some of the earliest, what we might call states or countries starting to form, mostly in the... Okay, so here's the thing. There's a lot of debate about when these cities became either unified into states or if they were sort of just big city-states that were acting in unison, right? I can make an alliance with the guy that runs the city down the river, and we can operate together, and we can sort of trade together and do all of that stuff. And that doesn't necessarily make us a country. But when I go beat that other guy up and I take over, that does make us a country, because now I'm sort of expanding my way of life and my borders. We know that there was expansion going on by like the 920s or 950s or somewhere in that area. But that implies that there was some level of cultural organization going on in the region beforehand. Most people are going to say, most historians are going to say that this is back around the 700s. So at the 700s, you start seeing the earliest experiments in what we might call little city-states or kingdoms, perhaps. It's 2 gas stations and a pothole. Don't worry about the Snow White talk. That's just Batbird messing around like the kids in your class 3 seconds from kicking out. I have not had to kick a student out of class in so long, and that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. We thrive or die together in this class, my friend. Indeed, we all do. And I hope that we are all together. Now, by the time we get to the early part of the 900s, there is a story that says that the first kingdom of the Polish people became sort of organized. And it became organized, or was ruled by, this guy named Piast the Wheelwright. Or Piast the Wheelmaker, if you will. And he looks like this guy. Or this is actually a photo of... Well, it's not a photo. It's an etching that comes from the 1800s. We don't actually know what this guy looked like, and a lot of people that are sort of very critical historians doubt that this guy ever really existed. If he did exist, it's almost certainly not in the version of the story that we have today. Blessed are the wheelmakers, for theirs is the inherited kingdom of the road. Yeah, so this is Piast, and that's Jamie Hyneman with hair. He rejects your ethnic boundaries and substitutes his own. One of the reasons why a lot of these images, by the way, come out of the 1800s is because of the development of sort of organized, what we would call nationalism. A lot of people in the 1800s were really trying to establish their ethnic identities, going back into history, and sort of build up these foundational myths. And a lot of the images that you see of people that are these kind of, mythological founders are going to have art that's dedicated to them in the 1800s. He looks grumpy. Well, he was actually an okay guy. You would be too if you had to stand still for that long. Speaks with finger mustaches. Well, clearly this isn't going to work out for us that much. So, what's up with Piast? Well, there's actually this really interesting story, and I won't share the whole thing, but very basically, this guy was not necessarily intended to be the king. The king was rude to a couple of magical visitors to his kingdom and didn't let them into the big party for his son. And so the two magical visitors went to this poor person's house and asked for food and ale. And the guy also had a very young son who was about to have a coming of age party. And the guy, out of his generosity, shared his ale and his pig. He had this piglet that he was going to slaughter for the feast for his family, and the two magical visitors basically did some miracle stuff, and everybody got to have ale, and there was like 10 buckets of pork for everybody to eat, and everybody started showing up, and the Duke of the area sort of begrudgingly showed up to see what was going on, and the magic dudes were like, well, you're a jerk and you didn't let us in. We were going to bless your kid. But now we've blessed this kid, and this kid's going to be the king. And so then the Duke gets really upset and ends up getting eaten by rats. It's a pretty long story, so we're not going to go through all of it. But if Piast was real, he's the guy that founded what goes on to be called the Piast dynasty. And the Piast dynasty is going to rule Poland basically for the next 400-ish years. We'll talk about that. It depends on where you want to put the foot down of where they actually ended. It could be one thing or another. But all the way up till the end of the medieval period. How about that? So if we're talking about medieval Poland, we're going to be talking about the Piast dynasty, and they get to sort of come up and be the overarching topic for just about everything else that we're going to talk about tonight. All right, so Piast dynasty, first ruling dynasty of the Polish people. What did he actually accomplish? Was this guy even a real person? We don't really know. We really don't know that much. There were pretty clearly some movements around Gniezno, the city that was the heart of this newfound kingdom. We really don't know very much about these people. There are sort of three brothers that follow this guy, his son, and then his son, and then his son. And they're sort of like all the legendary leaders of the Piast dynasty. We really don't know anything about them either. The moral of the story is never pass on a chance to share your pork and ale. That's correct. If two weird visitors show up banging on the gates of the city, demanding to be let into the party, you should totally let them into the party and not be a jerk and say, we don't have anything for you, go away. Because they're going to go bless some other kid, and that kid's going to end up taking over the country. Invite everyone to your baby's birthday. So here's the thing. It wasn't actually a birthday party. It was a coming-of-age thing. So in the Western Slavic tradition, somewhere between the ages of like 2 and 7 or so, you got your first haircut if you were a boy. And this is something that was kind of a ceremonial thing where if you did not want to claim your son, you did not give him a haircut. But if you did cut his hair, and you kind of had a public thing, and this was like you officially recognizing him as your heir, and the responsibility to take care of this kid would fall upon you. So there you go. So this was the Duke's kid's first haircut. Quinceañera, yeah. Pretty much. The good old haircut. Your cousin's son just got his first haircut. Well, if your cousin was with him and witnessed the haircut and then probably took photos of it and shared it on Facebook or Instagram, that's probably the closest that we've come in the modern world. Okay, so what about a ruler that we might actually be able to know something about? What about a person that we can say, oh yeah, that was a real person. We know for a fact that person existed. How about this guy, Mieszko? Medieval times, Twitter just Twitter is called the Dove. Yeah, you send out a whole bunch of doves. And the number of doves that people send back are your followers, right? So that's how you become famous. You look at my giant stack of messaging pigeons. That's how you originally tweet something, I guess. It's more like a coup, though, because doves don't necessarily go tweet. I'm so horrible at social media, I don't even really know. Who is this Mierszko guy? Well, this is Mierszko. And again, this is a photo from much, much later. We don't actually have an image of him himself. But who is this guy? So we know that this guy existed. He's going to be born somewhere in the 930s and becomes king probably somewhere in the 960s or so. And he rules until 992. Someone should tell him there's no R in his name, right? But that's how you pronounce it. That's how you say it, Mierszko. It's a language that's not native to me, and I literally had to spend time online this week finding videos where people that appeared scholarly would say these people's names so that I could not sound like a total idiot. So I tried. If I'm saying it wrong, it's because somebody else told me how to say it wrong. If you speak Polish, feel free to correct my pronunciation. Anyway, so Mierszko is going to be the guy that's sort of the first provable actual guy that we know is a king of Poland. And he's going to be pretty active. He's going to do some expansion. So he's going to... his capital city, by the way, is still... the sort of the center at I can't remember the word now. I'm looking like an idiot. Mierszko the Onth. Gniezno. At Gniezno, that's still the capital city, and he's going to expand from around Gniezno. These words are not necessarily in my active working vocabulary because I don't frequently talk about Poland in an academic setting. So, what's up with this guy? Well, to begin with, he is a pagan. He practices the old Slavic polytheism, and when he becomes king, he is very much still a polytheist, and he's going to end up marrying this Czech priestess from the kingdom of Bohemia. And, but he was just carrying... We're getting there. He marries this lady named Dobrawa, who was a Bohemian princess and a Christian, and because of her influence, he is baptized in 966, and he becomes a good old-fashioned Christian guy. And around that time, he's going to start sort of putting Poland on the map, right? There's a kingdom that is called Poland, and there's border stuff going on here, and he's expanding his borders. But it's not really until you start getting recognition from the other big players in the game that that people are going to start recognizing you. And one of the big things that Mierszko manages to accomplish over the course of his reign is that he opens up an embassy with the Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire at the time was effectively the largest kingdom in Europe. It was basically all of this right here. And it was a pretty big chunk of territory. And him being their friend and exchanging ambassador stuff and letters back and forth is going to give him a big leg up. But here's the thing. When he converts to Christianity, this is actually going to create a bit of a stir in Eastern Europe. Because with these new Christians that are going to convert is going to come both religious authority, but also, let's just be honest, money. Because whomever gets to claim all of these Christians is going to have all of the donations from that family or that group or that region. And as Poland is becoming a Christian nation, there are a lot of regions that want to sort of claim religious authority over Poland. And the argument here, of course, is going to be which Catholic archdiocese gets to claim Poland. And it's not really made clear at this point. There are some claims that the Bohemians are going to sort of kind of claim authority over Poland. And some people are going to sort of assume that the Holy Roman Empire does, because the Holy Roman Empire was sort of the kind of like the gravimetric center of that part of Europe at the time. And everything dealing with the Pope sort of came around them one way or the other. So there are a lot of questions as to who's actually in religious control. Now, Mieszko pretty clearly wants to be his own church. Like, he wants there to be a church in Poland. I hear the Bohemians are particularly Rhapsody prone. I've heard this as well. And even so much so that the Bohemians at one time rebelled for the Holy Roman Empire to let them go. Yeah. And the Holy Roman Empire said they'll never let you go. That was the 30 Years' War, by the way. They did not let them go. They did not. No. And to a certain extent, the Holy Roman Empire said that the devil's made a sign for you and forced them all to convert back to Christianity in the good old-fashioned Roman Catholic sense instead of that evil Protestantism. Have you done a stream on the Bohemians? I have a funny feeling they were nothing like what they look like in your head. I have not done a stream on the Bohemians. There's a whole kingdom of Bohemia that exists for quite some time before it gets sort of subsumed into the larger Holy Roman Empire. They have a pretty good run of things for a while. Anyway, so Mieszko is going to keep expanding for quite some time. He's going to open communication with several other big empires at the time. The Swedish, the Danes, the Holy Roman Empire, of course, but also Italy. Sending ambassadors down to Italy and talking with the Pope through ambassadors. This is all a big deal. He's sort of putting Poland, as we say, on the map. So let's actually look at his map. He's expanded quite a bit. So if we look at the region here, this was sort of the original region of his, the Polani here. Here's Gniezno, the capital city. And by the end of his reign, he has added all of this stuff inside this hard red line. And that's a lot of territory. So this dude's actually doing a pretty good job of expanding his folk. Now, up here, you can see Prusowie. These are the Prussians. These are actually referred to historically as the Old Prussians. These are not necessarily the same Prussians as the Prussians you might be thinking of at the beginning of the 1800s, where Prussia, those are a different group at the moment. Anyway, so these people are going to be a bit of a problem here in just a second, but he's got a big chunk of territory. And this is a pretty cool country, right? This looks a little bit like the modern-day country of Poland. If we look at the borders of the modern-day country of Poland, this is actually quite similar. We have the Czech Republic here. This would have been Slovakia. We can even kind of look at some of this in modern day. So this is Vegri, which is Hungary. So interesting stuff. Which is it, yes or no? Never let you go. No. Not even if you say Mamma Mia, let me go. All right. So Mieszko, pretty cool guy, rules for a while, ends up dying, and is going to pass the throne to his son. Where are my notes? And now this one, I'm going to tell you, I initially looked at this, and I said, oh, that's Boleslav. That is not how you pronounce that word. It's Bolesław. That's how you pronounce that word, according to the Polish sources that I found. Bolesław. So, there you are. Anyway, who is this guy? He is the new king. Not the second, but the second really concrete, provable PS dynasty that we can establish. And he's got a pretty important job in his tasks, and that is, well, guess what? he's going to be the dude that actually gets them established as a legitimate, recognized kingdom from the big dogs, right? You can say you're the king of this area. You can say that you're the king of Poland. You can say whatever you want to. But in Europe, if you are a Christian at this time, there's really only one way to be the official king. And we all know what that is. The Pope has to say you are king. The Pope says you're king, that's it. And that's what Bolesław is going to be after. This guy is going to sort of be looking for the justification that was started by his father. And he is going to work really, really hard to get an official archdiocese of Poland so that he can have an archbishop that is the Archbishop of Gniezno. This is going to be the Archbishop of Poland. It's going to be his advisor, his direct link back to the Pope. And this is going to get him out from under the religious authority of either the Bohemians or the Holy Roman Empire. So this guy is doing the legwork. He knows what it's going to take to become truly independent in this area, and he's going to spend a lot of time working on that. He's going to, when the Archbishop of Gniezno gets established, this is going to go a really long way towards making Bolesław look like an actual king. Because, look, I'm the king, here's my Archbishop. It's sort of like the old Eddie Izzard joke where, like, oh, you have a kingdom, where's your flag? You have no flag, right? You have no Archbishop? Well, there we are. So, he's got legitimacy now, because Archbishop. He's also going to do a lot of expanding. I should show you who this guy is. We actually have an image of him. Boom. This is him right here. And there's this weird little story. We can tell some of it, but at the moment, what he's doing in this particular image is he's bartering with these people who are Czechs to purchase the body of a saint. Because he's building this big church and he wants to put some relics in it. So he has to go collect relics and does that by buying a lot of relics. So the Archbishop is the cornerstone of legitimacy. Well, it's not necessarily the cornerstone of legitimacy, but if you have one, it goes a long way towards making you look like an actual country and not just some sort of like border lord that is playing king. When the church officially sanctions a region under one of your people that is going to be an ecumenical see, this is a pretty big deal. Did you miss the Polish saber dominance? We're not going to get to the Polish saber dominance. That is outside of the medieval Poland ticket. That's in what we might call Baroque or Renaissance Poland, or even Enlightenment Poland. That's a little bit later. Well, we're not going to get that far tonight, Tuna. But also, hey, Tuna, good to see you, man. So, yeah, Bolesław's going to basically be going around and buying up some good old-fashioned relics to busy up his church, right? Because you want your church to be nice. Like, oh, look, we've got a knuckle bone of Saint Diogenes, and we've got the left toe of Saint so-and-so, and look at all our cool stuff, right? We're a legitimate church. There's still a little bit of what we might consider almost like nouveau richness going on here, where the kings of Poland are pretty certainly feeling a little bit like they're not being taken seriously because they're so new. And they have to really quickly start checking all of the boxes. Like, what do kings do? Yes, we are in the Spear of Christ period, because it also turns out that they purchase the Spear of Destiny, which is pretty clearly not an actual Spear of Destiny. Longinus is almost certainly a myth. But yeah, at one point during this period, there are attempts to justify their Christological credentials. They're going to start buying up a lot of stuff, including the old copy of the Spear of Destiny. I don't know. What would be interesting is to actually do sort of a catalog, like a stream where we just talked about. I don't know if there's actually enough material for that. Anyway, what I was going to say is it would be neat to just sort of talk about all the different spheres of destiny that are out there and where they all actually come from and what they are all actually, because they're all not good. Like the first record that we have of one of those is from a guy who was sort of writing a kind of a travel log of his sojourn off to the Holy Land, but that was in like the 1000s, right? So this is almost 1,000 years after the death of Christ, and we've got this guy saying, "Oh yeah, I saw the spear." And that's kind of the first that we hear about it outside of the biblical time period. So if you had a time machine, you'd tell everyone your name was Mr. Saint, and keep going back until you get canonized. Well, if you were from the future, it would probably not be too very hard to get canonized, because you could just go back with like, antibiotics, and like, this guy's got healing powers. He gave me a pill. Sort of like the old Star Trek thing. The guy gave me a pill and I regrew my kidney, right? Yeah, if it was 1,000 years old, it must have Christ's blood on it, right? Sure, right? Anyway, Bolesław is going to be pretty powerful, and he's going to actually add to the Kingdom of Poland. He does have some setbacks, especially up in Pomerania, but he does add a bit, including over here into the German region, down here into the southwest, and over here into the southeast. There are actually going to be a couple of times where he goes over here to try to fight the Kievan Rus. That does not go very well. It, in fact, kind of ticks them off, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But this guy is the real deal. He is a real king. He's got his army. He's going around beating people up. He's expanding his borders. He's taxing the devil out of his own people so that he can buy cool stuff. All of the things that kings do, right? All the things that kings do. So it's no surprise that by the time he gets into his late reign, so this is probably sometime around 1025. 1025 is when he actually dies. So probably in the 120s or the 1020s or so, he is going to get his lifelong dream. That's right. He gets a part-time job at the Sizzler. And I know that at least one person gets that reference, but I don't know how many other people get that reference. But he does achieve his lifelong dream, and Pope Conrad II is going to give him a coronation. And this is the big deal, because when the Pope signifies your coronation, you have arrived. And from that point forward, the dynasty of the Piasts are going to be recognized as the legitimate rulers of this region. But this is also kind of like, in a certain extent, the high watermark of Poland for quite some time. Because you remember me saying that it's sort of like the crossroads or the viaduct of Europe. It turns out that people aren't done being moved around yet. And yeah, Shiggy, welcome, by the way. You're an hour and 5 minutes late. That's okay, though. That's okay. How are you tonight, Shiggy? Hope you're having a good one. So, yeah. Things don't go so great for the Piast dynasty after this. And there are moments where things are really, really great, and then there are moments where things are just real, real bad. Let me share this image with you to sort of put ourselves in a broader perspective of the region. And I share this on purpose because we need to zoom out and look at all of these people groups that are close to and potentially enemies of Poland. So if we zoom way out, this is Europe in the year 1000. This is what's referred to sort of as the high medieval period. Does he get King of the Month when he puts out the grease fire with his face? KP, I know you would get the reference. I absolutely appreciate you getting the reference. Thank you so much for liking the same nerdy stuff that I do. All right, so here's our country of Poland. We still have the Prussians. We have the Lithuanians here. We have this big group, though. This big group right here is a pretty big deal. These are the Kievan Rus. These are the people that will go on to form the core of what becomes Russia. The Kievan Rus were a mix of people that were Eastern Slavic tradition and the people that we might call Vikings. And over the course of about 200 years, they had put together this enormous empire there, based around the city of Kiev, which is here. And these people are big and strong. They're referred to as the Varangians in certain sources. And if you know anything about the Byzantine Empire, you know that the Byzantine emperor had a group of people that he called the Varangian Guard. Well, those were people from Kievan Rus. We have the big kingdom of Hungary here, where the Kievan Rus one empire. You thought there were a lot of families controlling their own kingdoms. That is... how do I say this? They were both an empire and a bunch of family controlling their own kingdom. At any given moment, one of those kings could basically beat everybody else up and take over the empire and form sort of an alliance of the Kievan Rus, and that happened quite a bit, especially when the Kievan Rus wanted to go out on patrol or on expansion, back when Italy had a thigh and a boot, right? Yeah. So Italy's all broken up. These are various individual groups like Venice and... So yeah, here's your Venetian Republic, and you have the Papal States, and you have some of the Norman kingdoms down here. It annoys me that the Kingdom of Burgundy is pink. I'm Ron Burgundy? I agree. It should have been Burgundy. I guess it's Burgundy-esque. It's not necessarily a deep Burgundy. Anyway, so we have the Holy Roman Empire. Again, they're a big deal. They're the big dogs at the moment, but the Kingdom of Hungary is here. Let's also not forget that we have the Kingdom of Denmark, Kingdom of Sweden. Poland is surrounded by other people. And they are the new people on the block, and they're not necessarily the strongest people on the block. And that's unfortunate for them. You thought that the Kievan Rus were even more separate entities than the Holy Roman Empire. So... if we're talking about, without trying to get off into a whole other stream on the Kievan Rus, there were periods of time, just like in Viking tradition. So if you know anything about like the way that Vikings operated, they were very frequently sort of unaligned, and then there were periods of time where one sort of big Viking leader would decide, okay, we're going to go do something huge, like we're going to go invade England, or we're going to go invade Normandy. We're going to take territory away from the French. And during that period of time, this particular single ruler would sort of forge a larger kingdom of Viking warriors in a big horde, and then they would go take over territory. This is literally the Viking invasion of Rollo, where he demanded Normandy from the heirs of Charlemagne in France. This is what happened when your Danes go invade England and set up the Danish kingdom in England. So this is a different kind of situation where, yes, you can have a central authority where lots of different people are kind of lined up behind one ruler. But if there isn't that need, or there isn't that thing that sort of pulls them together, they're very disparate. They have their own little local things, and the Kievan Rus are very similar to that. If somebody invaded, they're going to align. There's going to be one guy that is sort of recognized as the leader of them all, and they're going to go out and fight the bad guys. But in times of peace, they're probably just going to be hanging around in little villages or cities and not really doing very much that might line up behind what we might consider some sort of larger systemic centralized empire. So they can have centralized action, and they can line up behind one person. They can form a very large army. They can invade foreign countries in unified groups, or they can just be hanging around doing their thing, right? So there we go. Can we acknowledge that the Caliphate of Cordoba sounds way cooler than Spain? It sounds way cooler than Spain to everybody except for the people living there that were native. They do not care for the Caliphate of Cordoba very much. I would totally love to go to Spain, though. That would be really cool. Does Poland have geographical barriers to invasion? The answer to that is, unfortunately for them, very much no. If we are looking at the geographical barriers in Europe, you have the big mountain range here, the Carpathians. You have the big mountain range here, the Alps. Now, there are some rivers in this region. Let me put on my borders. Let me put on... Where are my rivers? Places. I have places checked. I thought I could actually just turn on rivers. Ah, waterways. Boom. You're not showing me waterways. I have to zoom in more. Anyway, you can see these rivers. There's the Dniester River, there's the Dnieper River, there's the Danube River. But the rivers that are here are not necessarily big enough to be natural deterrents. They're not necessarily going to be immovable barriers to progress. If you want to invade Poland, you can invade Poland fairly easily. Which unfortunately means that Poland gets invaded a lot. And I think we probably already knew that a little bit just from knowing a little bit about Polish history. Oh, we had somebody saying something. Is that, do you want to get famous? Was Enlatios talking about getting famous? Once I was the king of Spain, now I eat humble pie. If there were more Muslim natives, maybe the caliphate would be more popular. Oh, well, that's true. Spain has a geographical barrier to invasion called France. This is accurate. Hey, Moose. Lost track of time. I see. I hear that Poland gets invaded a lot. Yes. You recall something happening in the 30s? Yes. You're looking forward to this, too. We've been around. We've been up for about an hour and 13. Hour 19, actually. Not France, the French. Well, you know, what about when the French invade Spain? That happens lots of times. There are some times where Bohemians will revolt in the Holy Roman Empire and France ends up with land in Spain. But that's how the 30 Years' War works, and it's a giant mess. So, anyway, what's up with the Piast dynasty from about 930 or so to about 1370? So we're going to condense quite a bit. Quite a bit. No, they were not Spain at the moment. The country of Spain did not really exist at that point. They were like the Kingdom of Navarre, the Kingdom of Leon, or if you're a really fancy band in America that needs somebody, the Kings of Leon, and the Kingdom of Barcelona. So there were three kingdoms up in the northern part of Spain at this time period, around 1000 or so. Leon was the largest. Navarre was going to be the one that ends up sort of becoming central. Ferdinand and Isabella, the king and queen that sort of oversee the last unification of Spain, he's going to be Ferdinand of Navarre. This is why you prefer the 1 Year War. Much more concise, way cooler weapons. You can see your house from here. We can see lots of people's houses from here. Okay, so let's condense and sort of overview Poland during the rest of the Piast dynasty. Okay. In general, the problem that Poland is going to face is going to be that it can't keep itself together. You cannot see my house from here. I'm on the other side of the world. I'm right about here. So they have a really hard time keeping themselves together. Oh, you can. Okay, I got you. I'm got you. I got you. Yep, that was me being a dum-dum. You can see some areas of North Korea from almost there. What now? Does North Korea claim some islands in the North Atlantic or something? Who knows? They probably do. Anyway, so they're going to have a lot of hard times holding their country together. And what's going to end up happening is because of really bad choices when it comes to having lots of kids, the Kingdom of Poland is going to end up splitting and be reunifying, and splitting and reunifying, and splitting and reunifying. And this is going to be in line with sort of the larger European period of the time where you sort of have to leave some of your stuff to each kid, right? So you end up leaving part of the kingdom to each kid. The kids end up fighting with each other, and then by the end of the day, one brother has to kill the other brother and take over part of the country. That happens a lot. And because the Piast dynasty rulers are going to have so much trouble internally, this is actually going to leave the door open for ecumenical power to come in. And leaders of the church, a Christian church here, a Roman Catholic Church, are going to have an expanding role in running Poland. And there are going to be more and more tracts of land given over to the church, and some of the archbishops of Nieco are going to be pretty powerful. They're going to be, they're basically going to end up being de facto rulers of substantial portions of Poland during some of these periods of time. There's just constant internal fighting, though. Mom, he won't bend the knee. Exactly. He won't say that I'm High King. My dad gave me the title. Huge tracts of land. Right? But with this internal issue constantly plaguing the Polish kingdom, what you might expect is that their borders are particularly fluid. And you would be correct in this assumption. He doesn't have to because he's already built up his army. Look at what you've done. Nothing. Right? But Dad said that I was king. He only gave him the title Duke. Well, guess what? Now he's the king. I am the king now. Timmy, pronounced Zimyek. Pretty close, right? You gotta throw some T's and some Z's and Y's and some noises in there, right? The borders of Poland are going to expand and contract substantially during this period. The Piast dynasty is not going to be able to hold on to the territory that they have. They're going to end up losing land at various times to the Holy Roman Empire, the Kievan Rus, the Bohemians, the Kingdom of Hungary. All of these regional kingdoms around them are going to end up taking advantage of the fact that the Piast dynasty is weak and expanding into their territory. Now, there are some of the Piast dynasty kings that manage to hold it together and take some of this land back, and they're pretty well received in history. So it's not like every single ruler in the Piast dynasty is a screw-up or loses territory. Some of them are pretty good and very capable people. But basically, each of them receives an ever more stacked deck, right? These people are not coming into power with the best opportunities at hand. They're usually having to try to make up for errors in the generation previous, or 2 generations previous, or 3 generations previous, so on and so forth. Why can't you be more like your brother? If you were home, he'd have the throne. Your boyfriend is Polish, so you understand all the cultural jokes and puns. I don't have anything against the Polish people. I've never actually met someone in person that's from Poland. There are a couple of, there's a streamer that I follow, Vivi's Art Service, who is from Poland, and her stream is delightful. And I would love to go to Poland. There's so much cool stuff there. I would love to go see a lot of the history. Of course, we can't really do anything right now because COVID, alas. And the thunderstorms that were promised all day today have just arrived, and it seems like it's getting pretty rough outside. So if I suddenly cut out, it might be because the power is dead. So if that happens, I might have to text KP and get him to chat for me. Anyway, there are also going to be some pretty big issues inside of the Polish country with accepting feudalism. The Polish people were not naturally a feudal organization. They were very loosely based small scale farmers. They don't do feudalism very well. And this is going to especially be true in the more rural parts of Poland, where there are still a lot of people that are following the old Slavic religious traditions. Not everybody Christianizes in Poland very quickly. And this is something that a lot of people don't necessarily think about when we look at the timeline of Europe. When we get to the point of the 1100s or 1200s, a lot of people think, well, yeah, everybody in Europe is already a Christian, right? Like everybody is just universally Christian. That's not the case. There are still quite a few really big pockets of what people might call paganism or traditional religions that are in Europe, and Poland is one of these areas. There are a lot of the old Slavic tradition people still hanging on. They don't like this idea of feudalism. They don't like the idea of swearing oaths to this king under the guise of these new gods that, people are trying to shift around. Like, what, we've got lots of gods. Why do we have to go to 3 gods? And then they get told it's actually only 1 god. Well, that sounds dumb. We don't want to do that. You want some good old-fashioned repression? Look no further than the Polish. Yeah, their current government's getting pretty bad. I'm sort of worried for what modern Poland is actually getting in. 1 god to rule them all. Right? So the land is hard to hold on to itself. So if you are trying to establish a feudal structure, and yet your ruler keeps changing, and this year you're under the control of one Polish Piast prince, the next year you're under the control of some Bohemian guy, and your land gets shifted over and you get combined to this new county in some other country, and then 5 years from now a different Polish guy takes you back over and reincorporates you into Poland. The average person is probably not going to be able to tell the difference in most cases. But what's really hard about feudalism, trying to get it to work, is the middle people. The low-level, what you might call minor nobles. These are the people that are going to be the ones that you have to count on for your military. These are your knights. These are your armored, cavalry people. They're the ones you have to have for your army. You have to be able to count on them. And if you can't get their allegiance to line up in one direction, your army stinks. They're the backbone of your army. And with all of this land moving around and all of the rulers changing so quickly, feudalism is just really, really hard to adopt, because you have to swear all these oaths to follow these people or follow those people, but then your country gets taken over, but you've already sworn an oath in front of God to follow this guy, and now you're being told you have to swear an oath in front of God to follow that guy. So who the devil do I follow, and which oath before God do I, hold on to? Poland has a government? Absolutely. Let it be known that I choose to censor myself and not tell your last joke. You should be proud of me. Aw, Vipers, you can tell your joke. It's okay. Hey, Blue. We are learning about Poland, specifically medieval Poland. Witcherless Poland, right? This is what makes Paladin oaths in D&D so confusing. Kind of, sort of, yeah. Speaking of Paladins, we're getting there. So here's the crazy thing about it. The land itself outside of the Piast dynasty. So let's talk about the land in Poland that is controlled by the church. Here's the thing about that. Church land is always church land, right? You do not take church land back. You give land to the church, and the church does not give that land back. You do not go conquer church land, because then you get excommunicated and you go to hell. So church land inside Poland was super stable, and it constantly grew because more and more people were donating land to the church. So you have pockets of Poland where the church has stable power, while everything else in Poland is sort of falling apart and running around with its head cut off. And that makes the church so much more powerful, because there are people that will end up working church land, and it's sort of like the idyllic situation if you are some of these lower level nobles, because you're not going to end up having 18 different lords in 17 years. You're going to have the church, and you can go work for the church, and you can be one of the church knights, which is a big deal during this period of time. So by the time that we're talking about, we have had one crusade already, and they're gearing up for subsequent crusades, right? How did they get their spell power from an oath again? Blue. Poland's not... I like Polish history. A new last name. There we go. That's... yeah, that's the truth. I won't read it here on stream because it will be preserved in the VOD. So if you are watching the VOD, make sure you have the chat window up so you can see the joke here. Oaths call on a deity to ensure loyalty. If I fail my lord to blank, may I suffer blank. Yeah, exactly. But what happens if that guy ends up getting beaten and then I have to swear another oath to the guy that beat him? I don't like that idea, right? That's just weird. So here's another thing about Poland during this time. Not all of the serfs or the common farm people were directly tied to the land. Some of the people, because of the sort of looser feudal structure that they had in Poland, were actually work-for-hire serfs. And that gave them a significant amount of power. So if you were a horrible lord, your serfs could pack up and leave, which of course is going to decimate your army, your food supply, your money. Now, this was not super widespread, but it happened more than once during this period where large groups of serfs will basically just up and leave somebody because they're horrible. They're really just horrible, right? So there's a lot of stuff going on in Poland that is keeping it from unifying. So let's talk about the period of what I have designated the period of invasion, where big groups from the outside end up showing up and causing trouble. And we're going to start with these people. This is the flag. I'm actually seeing... Well, no, I doubt anybody knows this. He is no longer a lord, but what if he is a lord, he's just not your lord? Neon Genesis Poland? No. These are the Teutonic Knights. Let me type this in the old thing here. Teutonic Knights. Yeah. So here's the deal. What if he's not a lord, but he's a lord? Shiggy will never be royals. It's just not in our blood, right? That kind of luck just ain't for us. Anyway. Teutonic Knights. Yeah. So here's the thing. In the 1220s, Poland was having a really hard time with those old Prussians. The old Prussians were still very much pagan, and the Catholic Church had begun to show an interest in calling what are going to be sort of lumped together and referred to as the Northern Crusades. So the church was interested in wiping out what it called paganism, but also things that were sort of just heretical Christian, according to them. And these old Prussians are going to be a viable target for the Teutonic Order. The Teutonic Order was one of the largest organized church-based knight groups. Technically, they were monks. They were a monastic order, but they were warriors. And the kings of Poland are going to get in contact with the leaders of the Teutonic Order, and they're going to say, look, we've got pagans up here. It's these Prussians. They're causing lots of trouble. Would you like to come help us wipe them out? And the Teutonic Order is like, yeah, that actually sounds pretty great. So the old Prussians are going to basically be hanging around up in this region. Whoop, there we are, right around here. And the Teutonic Order is going to show up, and they're going to sort of put a whipping on these Prussians. And then they're going to go, there's actually a lot of good land up here. This is a pretty cool place. We should just take it all over. And that's what they do. The Teutonic Order creates a state that basically controls this whole region of the Baltic coast right here, including land that they took from Poland. And the Polish king is like, whoops, sorry. The Polish king is like, we brought you to kill the bad guys, and now you're taking land from us? And the Teutonic Order was like, well, you clearly can't handle it. You can't do anything about it. So yeah, we're going to come in and we're going to kick the butts and we're going to take the land. So there we go. So, unfortunately, the Teutonic Order takes a lot of land from Poland, where the Teutonic Crusaders trying to find the two gents. If you want to test the oath, I can always throw people into the rivers, right? Good old Trials of Ordeal. Stars an Imperial Crusade in the name of God Empire. I'm not sure what that means, Blue. Starts an Imperial Crusade in the name of the God Emperor. Okay, so we're talking about Dune now. We're Leto the Second. I'm with you. I'm following. The spice must flow. Blessed be his coming and his going. I'm with you. I really like Dune, by the way. So the Teutonic Order takes over an entire state up here and rules this for quite a while, decades. So, yeah, that's a problem with Poland. They get invaded by people that were supposed to come help them, and then you can't really do anything about it. Either Dune or Warhammer. Oh, do the Warhammer people use the term God Emperor too? Oh, okay. Well, I did not know that. I am utterly ignorant to most of the Warhammer 40k world. I know that there are like zombies, and I know that there are space marines, and I know that there are orcs that can do sort of magic, but that's literally about it. So what about the Mongols? Because guess what? It's that time. Did you think that it was just Europeans that are going to invade Poland? Oh, you're wrong. It's time for some steppe people to show up and wipe the floor with everybody. And you go, well, what happened to the Kievan Rus, that big country out here that was sort of acting as a buffer between all of the nomadic steppe people and Poland? Well, guess what? The Kievan Rus Empire gets wiped out by the Mongolians as well. The Mongols are going to be the big bad guys for everybody. And particularly, they're going to show up in Poland, and, well, they're going to kill the Duke. The guy that's in control of Poland at that time is a guy named Henry II, and I have a great little image here. Ba-dum-ba-dum. This is the depiction here of the Mongol horde, and they are outside the walls of the city here. Which one is the Duke? That guy. That guy's the Duke. A little bit of Tepesh. And Batbird's like, just leave Poland alone. Looking good. Lost a lot of weight. Yeah. So here are the Mongolians. And this is actually a fairly interesting image here. So the city had broken down the bridge that got them there, and they were pulling up the drawbridge to wait out this big siege. And this particular Mongolian leader named Baidar Khan, is going to ride up to the walls with Henry II's head on a pike and basically tell them, you gotta quit, because if you don't, I'm going to kill you all. And they're like, we're not going to quit, you've already killed our guy. So then he kills them all. The Mongolian horde wrecks Poland. Now, it doesn't destroy Poland as a state, but in 1240 to 1241, and then again in the 1270s, and then again in the 1290s, the Mongolian invasions are going to constantly just destroy any semblance of order or unity within most of the Polish kingdom. And the big bad guys of the dreams, you know, so if you're going to be an Eastern European person, you have a nightmare, you're starting to worry about the Mongolians. These are the people that are going to kill you all. These are the people that are going to come in and destroy your way of life. Not too long after the Mongolians show up, the people in Europe also find out that they had converted to Islam. So now you have Muslim Mongols at the borders. The group that invaded is eventually going to go on. There are several different what are called hordes of the Mongol Empire, and you have like the Blue Horde and the White Horde. All of those are in the Eastern European world are going to form together this larger country called the Golden Horde, which is going to be the terror of Europe for about the next 220 years. Did the Mongols use the "if you're nice to us, we won't murder everyone" thing, or were they just enjoying killing without discussion? The Mongols were actually perfectly fine with just taking all of your stuff and leaving you alone to a certain extent. Now, if you caused them trouble, they would kill you all, yes, and they don't really have a problem with killing. But they were pretty comfortable with the idea that if you basically submitted to their overlordship, they would even leave some of your local people in charge as long as they paid their taxes and didn't cause trouble. Because that's really the only way that the Mongolian government structure worked, because it was just too big to function otherwise. The ruling population of Mongols was always significantly smaller than the people that they were dominating. So it was basically, you line up with us and we sort of let you do your thing, or you don't line up with us and we destroy you to the root. That's sort of the way that they approached it. Haven't tried that diet, seems drastic. That's where the Golden Corral started. The Mongol is basically an unstoppable force of nature. Yeah, the Mongolian army was really big and really scary, and Russia and Poland are going to take the brunt of that. Yeah. Also, after that happens, you get more invasions, because when the Mongols go away and Poland is sort of left in its ruin, the Bohemians then invade under a king named Wenceslav II. This is in 1299. This is actually sort of important here, because when Wenceslav takes over, he's going to basically push the Piasts into secondary position. So there are still people that are claiming to be the legitimate rulers of the Piast dynasty, but they are far from kings. Some of them could not even claim to be Grand Dukes, which had sort of become a title that had to be kind of created out of a fiction that there were different levels of ruler. There was a king, and then there was a Grand Duke, and then there was a Duke, and then there was like the earls and the counts and such. So some of the people that were in the Piast dynasty had been lowered down to the point that they could not even necessarily claim the title of Grand Duke. They were just dukes. So here comes this Bohemian guy and invades in 1299, and what's actually going to be sort of unfortunate for the Polish people is that this Bohemian guy, or the Bohemians, are actually going to reunify Poland. And it's kind of sad that the only reason that Poland gets reunified at this point is because an external force manages to reunify them when the people inside of Poland couldn't reunify themselves. The Piasts at that point had basically no hope of actually reunifying the Kingdom of Poland, but the Bohemians had a big honking army and just came in and wiped everybody out and made everybody stand in line and put the borders back where they're supposed to be. Yeah, no Rhapsody for them. If you recall, there was like one city that said no and lived. Blue, there's I recall that roughly, but I couldn't tell you exactly what story that was. I think that there's something to do with like they were sarcastic and Genghis Khan thought they were funny or something like that. I can't remember the exact story. This is where the lyrics "Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality" came from in the Bohemian Rhapsody, right? The Polish people were just caught in a landslide, and they couldn't even get out of their own reality, which was they had fallen so low because of all these different invasions that they just couldn't hold themselves together. I guess wiping everyone out is one way to unify, right? Do the Russians and Germans invade next, or is that later? That's a little bit later. That's like about 700 years later. If you're referring to World War II. The Germans will invade Poland earlier than that, and the Russians will invade Poland earlier than that. But the Russians and the Germans at the same time. That's the beginning of World War II in 1939. So you end up with Poland being unified by the Bohemians. And some people say at this point the Piast dynasty was basically no longer independent. That they were sort of fictional lords of a kingdom that didn't necessarily exist except on paper. Is there a list of countries that have not invaded Poland? I'm sure that there is somewhere, and it's probably significantly larger than you might think, but I get the joke. I'm just a Pole. I need no sympathy. Well, no. The joke is, I'm a Pole man. Da, 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 da. That's the name of the stream for tonight. And I had to give credit to KP for coming up with that one. I had a pretty rough day, and I was sort of spinning my wheels, figuratively speaking, trying to get everything together today. So KP came through in the clutch. Anyway, so what's up with the Piast dynasty? So the Bohemians are basically going to decide in 1305 that one of the things that needs to happen is for Poland to have kind of a token leader that is chosen by the Bohemians. So sort of like a puppet king, if you will. And the Polish are the Polish nobility are really not necessarily in a position to argue with this. But the the Bohemian king Wenceslav II is going to end up dying in 1305, and his son takes over, and then his son basically only makes it a year before he gets assassinated. And it's at this point where the Piast really have what is kind of their last gasp of legitimacy. With Casimir III. Also referred to as Casimir the Great. And he is this guy. Ba-dum-bum. He's got cool clothes. Casimir the Great. So it turns out that when the Bohemians unified Poland, and then were going to sort of set Poland aside for a puppet leader, and that puppet leader then recognizes that the leader of Bohemia had been murdered, that guy's going to declare himself independent. And Casimir III basically inherits a unified Poland, which is really crazy because he's a Piast. He was part of the ruling Piast dynasty, and he didn't have to unify Poland. The Bohemians did it for him and kind of gift wrapped it and gave it to him, and then conveniently got assassinated. So what I'm hearing is that the invasion of Poland in World War II is Invasion of Poland Electric Boogaloo. It's not even the second invasion of Poland. It's like the 200th invasion of Poland. Kashmir the Great. Yeah, that's one of the greatest guitar riffs ever. Cave Geek, UN, Unity checks out. Pretty much. Also, hey, Junk, good to see you. So, Casimir III, Casimir the Great, what does he do? Well, he gets this big kingdom, and he's like, look, we can now do stuff. It turns out when you give me an organized treasury, when you give me a sort of aligned feudal structure where I can call up an actual army, and when I have kind of peace along the borders, I can even expand those borders. And does. Casimir the Great is really the last big guy that gets anything done in Poland for the Piast dynasty. You mean having a functional infrastructure works? Yeah, exactly. You always see those cloaks lined in white fur with black spots. Kids like drawing kings like that. What animal is that from? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe some sort of dog? I really couldn't say. I don't think it's a Dalmatian. Let me zoom in on this. I don't know. Maybe the black spots are like feet, and those are like minks. You know, the like black-footed ferrets or something like that. I don't actually know the answer to that, Vipers. That's a great question. Do little guys get a lot done after them? Well played. Turn of phrase. Hey, Yavern, good to see you. Does the sorry I'm late pole dance? Well played, sir. I appreciate that. Also, hey, Yavern, good to see you, my friend. Yes, sir, here's your dog cloak. I killed all the dogs in town just for you, so you can have the... Well, I don't know, man. People in the ancient world, or even in the medieval world here, they don't have the same attachment to things like we do in a lot of situations. Anyway, so here's the deal with Casimir. He's a really powerful king. He manages to hold the country together Not only does he hold the country together, but he also expands the borders of the country. He takes back some of the territory that the Mongols had, which was like a pretty big deal, right? Because those were the big boogeymen. He rules, by the way, from 1333 to 1370. This guy rules for quite a long time, and he's a pretty powerful king. He really does a lot to sort of put Poland back on the map. He's going to end up moving the capital city, Ermine. Yeah, so it's some sort of minkish. Whoa. Okay, I did something bad. Oh, I did something real bad. I should not have done that. Okay, am I back? Yeah, I should not have tried to open that. Should not have tried to open that. Yep, that's what I get. Let's see if this opens back up. Yay, okay. Can you see me? The Earth is back. Okay. Yeah, I should not have clicked on that link. I had too many windows open and my computer just decided, I hate it. Okay, so here's the thing. All right, let me swing back over here to Poland. What's crazy is that this computer is one of the most powerful computers that I've ever had. The issue is that I am using a really, really old graphics card that does not like to work with the computer that I have, and I am consistently having encoding issues where I'm trying to put out really good signal, and this graphics card is like, no! And that's what makes all this graphical crazy stuff happen. Anyway, so... Oh, well, we lost Casimir, too, didn't we? There we go. We look good. We got Casimir back. Little did you know, Shane was practicing his magic. Yeah. I wish I had magic. Okay, so here's the deal. Casimir, big, powerful king. He makes this deal, right, with the kingdom of Hungary, which was south of Poland, because he was already kind of getting on in age, and he did not have an heir. And the deal was basically, look, if I die without an heir, I will sort of let Hungary and the Hungarians pick my successor. And this was not necessarily super far out of the order for the time period. The Polish kingdom at that point would not have necessarily been completely unified with Hungary. It would have just been able to choose the next leader of Hungary, and then of course, or Poland rather, and then they would have been sort of in a really close alliance, but not necessarily kind of defeating the independence of Poland. And the royal family of Hungary and the royal family of Poland had a lot in common already. They had already sort of teamed up to help fight off some of the new big bad people down here who were called the Ottomans. If you were hanging around when we did our viewer request stream on Vlad the Impaler, you'll remember that the Polish and the Hungarians were very interested in all of the goings-on of this region right down in here, because they sort of ended up on the same side of history. So this is what ends up happening. Yeah, you shall not pass. I wish I could buy a graphics card right now. The new big bad people called vampires. Not vampires, Ottomans. Ottomans were the big bads of Europe after the Mongolians sort of fell away. Anyway, Casimir ends up with a bit of an issue. He doesn't have a kid. That was a bit of a pun here. Ends up with an issue. Anyway, you get the idea. And he does adopt a kid of his kid. So he had an heir. That heir died. He ends up adopting this grandson of his, but it's not really popular and it's done right at the end of his life. And when he dies, the Hungarians start trying to exercise their claim. And this is going to be the end of our Piast dynasty. And we're going to get Louis the First. And he is a Hungarian. And he is this guy. I don't know what you might think about this guy, but yeah, that's Louis the First of Hungary. And he is the guy that the Hungarian nobles choose to be the king of Poland. But there's a bit of a dispute here where the Polish people don't necessarily like this guy. And they sort of want to go with the Piast dynasty, including the guy that Casimir maybe adopted a little bit too late and didn't do stuff particularly well to get it all done the right way. And Louis effectively has to bribe his way into being king of Poland. And he does so with quite a bit of money and influence and the backing of the church, which of course is going to be sort of vital in any sort of political maneuvering at this time period. Is he always hungry? Haha, such a hipster with the skinny jeans. Right. Louis the First checks all local kings. I have found 6 Louis on your map. Yeah. Louis the First of Hungary is going to end up being the new king of Poland. And the thing about Louis is he already had an heir, but it wasn't a guy. It was a daughter. And his daughter's name was Jadwiga. And she looks like this. Boom. There we go. And so there was a bit of an experiment going on here where Louis says, I would like for my daughter to be the queen. Like when I die, I would like to pass the throne to my daughter. And this actually takes a little bit of convincing because the Polish nobility have to sort of agree on accepting her as a sovereign because they sort of had to agree on Louis being the sovereign, right? And this is going to be a troublesome moment where Louis sort of has to kind of go back to the old bribing and cajoling. But he does manage to convince the Pole nobility to accept his daughter as the sovereign. So when Louis dies, he dies in 1384, and Jadwiga takes over. And there's a little bit of a weird historical situation right here where it seems, supposedly, that the nobility did not declare Jadwiga queen. They named her king. Which is interesting, because this sort of allows them a little bit of a fiction. It means that the Polish nobility has the right to grant the title king, and that they are the only ones that can grant the title king. So if she marries somebody, that does not automatically mean that her husband becomes king. So this is sort of like a political machination thing going on here. Why would it be difficult as long as she marries a king? Well, see, that's the thing. So she's Lady Queen Jadwiga of Hungary, Poland. Correct. And there's a big issue almost immediately, of course, because it's like, who is she going to marry? Everybody wants to know who she's going to marry. Bum-ba-dum, bum-ba-dum-bum-bum. Patricia, thank you so much for that follow. And welcome to the adventure. Please feel free to participate at whatever level you feel comfortable. Would her husband be the queen? Would he be the first man? Or the first husband, right? The first gentleman? Or just royal consort? Probably just royal consort. Going to marry Indiana Jones? Maybe. How many concubines is a lady king allowed to have? Who knows? We are in uncharted territory here, Shiggy. So here's the deal. So she gets... she sort of had this arrangement worked out already where Jadwiga was supposed to marry
this really young Austrian guy who was a noble from Austria that was 15. And they're like, with all of the military stuff that Poland is going to have to go through, we don't need a 15-year-old king. Also, we hate Austria. There's no way you're marrying anybody from Austria. And they're like, well, I mean, who else is around? And Jadwiga's like, okay, well, they break off the engagement with this 15-year-old Austrian guy. So who's left? You know, who are we going to end up marrying? Well, Louis is dead, so he's got to go. Backspace. Jadwiga, who's she going to marry? Well, she marries this guy named Jogaila. But here's the thing about Jogaila. He's Lithuanian. He also looks like this. Now, when he becomes king, he changes his name to Władysław. So he's Władysław II of Poland. But the Lithuania angle is actually kind of interesting here because the Lithuanians were not necessarily the go-to people for the Polish allies. That area had some stuff in common with Poland. They were the Lithuanian people were way back in time Balts, 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 and that group of people had moved into northern Poland, so there was some relationship there. But what's also interesting is that large portions of the Kingdom of Lithuania had also been sort of taken over by the Teutonic Order back in the day. So there's some familiarity here. The Lithuanians had also been targeted by the Mongolian invasions. So there's some sort of shared history between Lithuania and Poland. So Jadwiga is going to marry Jogaila, and this begins a new chapter in Polish history where they become the combined empire of Poland-Lithuania, or Lithuania-Poland, however you want to call it. And this happens in about 1399 or so, or that's when Jadwiga's reign is going to end. And this brings us not to medieval Poland anymore. This is going to be good old-fashioned Renaissance Poland. And that is also where we're going to wrap up for the night on my part. So I know that this was a bit long, but again, I did feel like I needed to do a substantial amount of background material because you can't just, in my opinion, start talking about a group of folks without knowing a little bit more about where they came from. So that is the viewer request on the Kingdom of Medieval Poland. And Kelly wants to see the puppy, so let me call the puppy. I believe she is coming this way. Sophie, thank you so very much for hanging out. I hope it was a good one. So we do viewer requests usually every other week. And then every Thursday we're doing history sort of in chronological order. Let me call the puppy again. I think she may have gotten lost along the way. You've been working with me in the background. Oh, wow, that's an honor. I'm glad that I was pleasant background noise. Fun fact, over here we use Baltic as a synonym for cold. Well, it is kind of cold over there. Here she comes. There's the puppy.
I'm Spartacus.
Come and see me. Hey, come and see me.
I'm Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus.
Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus.
Sophie, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, Red Jar of Jam is raiding. Are you not detained? Hey everybody. What's up? What's up everybody? My name is Shane. We do history stuff here, and somebody actually just asked to see the puppy, so I was trying to get the puppy in here. Red, good to see you. Hope you're doing well.
Everybody go follow Red Jar Jam. He's a great artist. Good stuff. You'll have a good time there. Sophie, thank you so much for the sub. That was very kind and very much appreciated. Let me try to call the puppy again because I think she left, and I don't know if you actually saw her or not. I might need to actually go get the puppy. Let me go get the puppy. Come see me. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come on. There's the puppy. Oh, there's the puppy, and she has her chicken. This is like her favorite toy in the world. It's a really horrible chicken. We'll put that right there. Yes. And the people want to see. You want to look right here? Or you just want to give me sugars? Oh my goodness. Puppy sugars. Oh goodness gracious. Angel, thank you so much. Much appreciated for the puppy bits. All right, we're going to see if we can do a trick. We'll see if we can catch the chicken. Want to catch the chicken? Ready? Well, let me put it over here. Can we? If I throw it that way. Oh, you fumbled it. You want to bring it back? You want to bring it here? And see if you can catch it? Bring it here. No, I've taken the toy.
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! Spartacus!
Oh, wow. And we've started a hype train now. Anonymous gifter, thank you so much for gifting that sub. Hey, Angel, good to see you. Let me make sure that I say hello to everybody that's come in with red. Valley Dweller, what's up, man? Good to see you. Hope things are well. Angel came in. Nature, I too. Good to see you. Hope you're having a great one. Yes, the chicken has... yeah, it was a fumble. It was a fumble. Viper, welcome to the Spartacus world. You are Spartacus. So, yeah, everybody, if you don't know who I am, my name is Shane. I'm a history streamer. I teach college down here where I live in the southern part of the States. And we talk history on chat, and we do it in a way... Vern, thank you for those. And tanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so we talk about history. We talk about history in a fun way. We usually throw in lots of really horrible jokes, pop cultural references, all of that fun stuff. Tonight we were doing a viewer request stream, which we do usually every other Tuesday night. And the choice for tonight was medieval Poland. And I guess at this point I do need to ask, is there anybody that wants to redeem a choose your own adventure? If so, speak now. Otherwise, we will run ourselves a fancy little poll. Anybody have the points and want to spend them? Anybody? How many points is it? 10,000. If you have 10,000 points, you can do what's called choose your own adventure, right? Like the old books. KP wants to choose. What you got, KP? Let me go turn stuff on. You're going to need... Ooh, that's the wrong button. You're going to need this one. Choose your own again. KP, you are good to go. The history of kilted preachers. Well, there's this Scottish guy, and he talks about Jesus. You'll need to think about it. All right, so KP has chosen his own again. Nazi flight after World War II. KP has been talking about this one for a while now. Yeah, so there we go. And it is decided. Our next viewer request will be what happened to all those Nazis after World War II, and which ones got away, and which ones got smuggled into which countries and turned into American rocket scientists. Hint, hint, hint. and which ones got tracked down by the Mossad. Figured most of the flights were during World War II. Yeah. Or why we have blondes in South America. I don't know. But there we go. If you push them out of a plane for a few... Oh, KP. Oh, that's a low one. All right. So thanks, KP, for both hanging around long enough to get all of those points and then redeeming all of those points. So we've got a topic for the next time. And I think it's time for us to go do a bit of a raid, my friends. And I think we're going to bring the group over. Well, I guess I should technically be polite and wait out the hype train. I'm not telling you that you should do anything else. Please, by goodness sakes, don't ever think that you have to. I appreciate it, but it is not required. Was the hint, hint, hint while pointing to you implying that you were a Nazi scientist? I am not a Nazi scientist. Hey, Finesse, good to see you. Yeah, you came in right at the end. I'm doing pretty well. We're about to hit a raid and do some raidy typed things, and bring our friends over to another channel and go hang out with some folks. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Was the Isle of Malta ever significant in history? Yeah, they were the base
We shall have
of
camels, horses, an armed escort, provisions,
Batbird. Thank you very much.
and tanks.
Not just for that, but also for the gift sub earlier. A little sick at the moment. Oh, that stinks. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. Hope you get over it. Who are we raiding? So the Isle of Man, the Isle of Malta. Yeah. Isle of Malta was the home of the Knights of Malta, who were one of the big sort of the orders of Christian Crusader knights, and they played a pretty big role in a lot of European politics for a couple hundred years. So pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. The comment was sponsored by the Raid Shadow Legends. Yeah, so I think we are going to go raid JMR, who is a friend that has started hanging out in the chat here. I've been in his stream a few times. He's currently playing Republic Commando, which is a game that I've never played, but JMR is a cool guy, and I want to show him some love because he's a smaller streamer, and I think that we can bring some friends his direction and put some eyeballs on his stuff. And I think it'll be a pretty good time. So I do want to Christian Crusader Knights, mercenaries, figure quote mercenaries. I do want to tell everybody that we need to be a little bit open about what's going to go down Thursday. I currently do not know what's going to happen Thursday. We had some potential stuff going on where I might be not able to stream. Now that I think that I am probably going to be able to stream, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to have the time to put together something for a stream. I don't know what's going to happen on Thursday. I would like to still do something on Thursday. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. We also need to have some time set aside to do We Didn't Start the Fire. I don't know when we're going to do that. I've got it prepared most of the way. I've got the preparation stuff done. I still haven't collected all 118 pictures, which is taking me forever. But we need to do that soon. That was a community goal that we reached. I am aware that we need to do that. I am not trying to put it off because I just don't feel like doing it. There's a lot of stuff that's going to take forever. It's going to be a very, very long stream. It's going to be like 3.5, probably 4 hours maybe. It's really big, really big. So I might try to do that Friday. If I do have some time to do that Friday, I might not stream Thursday and just do like a really, really long stream on Friday and do We Didn't Start the Fire. I don't know. So keep an eyeball on the Discord. I'll try to get my world straightened up tomorrow and let everybody know with as much notice as I can about what's going to go on. But let's go raid JMR. Again, JMR is a cool dude. He is kind of a variety streamer. He does model building, but also plays video games. And
he's just a cool guy. So I think you'll have a good time. Our battle cry, as always, is adventure. And if you have any of those lovely adventure hat emotes that you can throw into the chat, that would be super de-duper. Thank you all so very much for hanging out. We've had so much generosity for all of our new people that have coming around. Thank you so much for everything that you have given tonight. I really do appreciate that. You are kind and generous and loving people. I am not worthy of you all. Thank you so very much. Please keep an eyeball on the Discord. As soon as I figure out what's going on with the whole streaming schedule thing, I will post it. That's not that. That is that. Yeah, anyway. See everybody around, hopefully soon, and have a great one until then. So, take it easy.